그래서 아니 내가 인자 내가
seem to be very angry. You have it. Don't worry. As we going on the break, we issues around how to structure your research proposal. We talked about the problem statements, hypothesis or objectives. Talked about basic literature, and then we talked about methodology, which I believe we didn't get to fully complete, but we talked about most of the aspects of the methodology. There we see that the major criteria for assessing whether you have written your methodology properly is the replication. How is what you have written clear enough for somebody to do the study the same way you try to do it yourself, or the same way you have done it? Because you want to make sure that when you come up with the results of your study, people who have questions about that way will be able to go back and they conduct the same study, verify your results. So you want to describe the process in detail. Yeah, we talked about the topic describing your population, and together with the population, issues of the sample, what sample size are you coming up with, what sampling procedures are you going to use, are you planning to use, or have you used? And in describing the population, we talked about whether you are describing exactly population and accessible population, what are the differences between those two. And then we talked about the description of the tools you're going to use for collecting your data. What tools are you going to use? Where we said you have to be concerned about the issues of validity and the reliability. Any questions on what we talked about before we zoom off? You have it? Yeah. We need to have it now so that we don't get tired with the happy with one another, friends with one another, and not become enemies. Yeah. What is validity? You said you're happy. No, you didn't just. So what does the sign have to do? You're not happy. You should also be. You're not happy. Because you don't
should we use electric?
Okay. Should be used for that purpose. Yes, sir, the corner. Yes, madam. The rest of the truth is not. Logical. Okay, true or logical. That is good. You know what that is? Yes, the aim is to make sure that the results are correct. They are valid. And if they are saying they are valid, we need to say that what the results are saying is what they should be saying. Now, when you are constructing tools or collecting data, you want to make sure that those tools you use to collect the data are measuring what they should be measuring. I think I used a very funny example to illustrate what I'm talking about. And the final example was you should not be using a measuring tape to measure weight. You remember that? If you use a measuring tape to measure weight, are the results going to be correct? They are not going to be valid. So the issue of validity relates in terms of measuring instruments or tools. Relate to the fact that the tool which you are using is measuring the concept which you want to be measuring. The concept is weight. You should be using a measuring scale, because that's the right tool for measuring weight. If you are measuring distance, you should be using measuring tape, which is kilometer or whatever, because those are the tools for measuring distance. Now, those examples I'm giving seem to be very simple, and you will say, somebody must distribute to be measuring weight using a measuring tape. But when we are talking about a psychological, sociological concept, those can be tricky. You need to be sure that if you have come up with a, say for example, a questionnaire, the questions which are there on that questionnaire are the right questions asking for the right information. It's possible for you to ask questions which are collecting the wrong information from what you want to collect. Silence. Happy or not happy, let us say. Anything unclear? So we are happy. This is also how about the ability? What did you say is reliability? When we are using a measuring instrument to measure a concept, we have to be concerned about validity and reliability. Yes.
raised a particular issue, when you are doing that measure, it should take you below the similar.
Yeah, consistency. The measuring instrument should consistently give you the same results. I also use a measure in physical sciences, measuring scale. Some of the very sensitive measuring scales, depending on the wind pressure, the air pressure, they can change something of what they are measuring. You move everything on the scale, but if you really 0.1, exactly what I measured here. Now, if you put a mass of 2 kg, then it will be giving you 2.1. It is wrong. So, consistency in the measuring instrument is what we are evaluating in terms of the questions. Of course, we'll come back to those concepts when we'll be looking at the measuring tools as the topic. And then we said that in the methodology we also describe the data correction procedure. So you tell us where the study is being done, what the study design you are using, what situation, what sample, how you came up with the sample, how you came up with the measuring tools, how did you assess the validity of those tools, how did you assess the reliability of those tools, then tell us about the actual data collection procedure. Whether you are doing the face-to-face interviews, whether you are naming out the questionnaire. These days there are so many ways of conducting surveys, for example, using electronic gadgets. What electronic gadget are you using? What type of program are you using? You need to describe those in detail so that people should know what you are instructed with, and if there was a problem in your data collection procedures, they should be able to assess that and guide you. And if you're writing a proposal, when you describe those things in detail, then if there's any problem, people can advise to say, no, if you use this method, you have these challenges. You better fix this problem so that you avoid those challenges. Questions? Data collection is always helpful to conduct some pilot study, whereby before you go out fully to start your data collection process, take a small sample, maybe outside your sample study area, for you to test your data collection procedure, whether they are the right procedure, the tools, whether they are giving you the right information, and very often we use the enumerators to collect the data. The pilot testing can also be used as a way of making the data collection people properly trained, properly skilled. They are having problems understanding the questionnaire, for example. You can catch those problems before they go out to the real data collection procedure. So normally recommend some pilot testing, but also if you are using enumerators, you need to train them properly so that they can be able to do the job properly. They need to understand the objectives of the study. They need to understand each and every question that they should be asking, because they can ask a question in a different way, thinking they are getting the same information, yet the respondents understand it differently from the way you have stated it. So they need to understand the questions, they need to understand the objectives of the study before they go out to start the actual data collection process. And when they start collecting the data, you need to closely monitor what is happening. It's always a good practice to make sure that at the end of the day, take at least the number of completed questionnaires from each enumerator. See whether they collected the right information or not. If they didn't collect the right information, send them back the correct what they missed. So we need to describe the procedures we follow data collection. Questions? You're still quiet. 20 minutes is scary. Why? Yeah? Oh, they are full. Oh, full. Okay. We had agreed that we negotiate with these country people to give you a better time, but you have not done it. So we have to use it. Try again. The other process we need to describe in detail is your data analysis techniques, the data analysis procedures that you will be conducting in your study. How are you proposing to handle the data? First, how are you proposing to clean the data before you start handling it? If there are any things which have not been properly corrected, properly done, how do I identify those things and before how do you correct that? You need to decide that. How do you propose to present your data after analyzing? Actually, the analysis will depend on that question. How are you going to present your data, and therefore, how are you going to analyze that data? What kind of statistical indices are you going to use for that data? So, those will direct how you are going to analyze that. And you need to describe those processes very well. The study objectives, or where you are using hypothesis, the objectives themselves or the hypothesis will normally determine or dictate to you how the data should be presented, and therefore how the data should be analyzed. And why is that so? The hypothesis will always be describing the sort of relationships
you are expecting to occur between the variables. And for you to assess those relationships, there is a particular way you need to present your data. Whether you want to test the cause-effect relationships, whether you want to assess association between variables, all those questions will determine how you are going to present the data, how you are going to analyze that data. Research questions or research objectives, the same manner. You want to describe the situation you are found in a particular, how are you going to describe it? And therefore, for you to be able to describe it that way, how are you going to present the data? If you want to explain phenomena in a particular situation, how are you going to do those explanations? Those questions will determine the data analysis techniques. Okay? And all those need to be described thoroughly in your proposal. Looking at the proposals that most of your colleagues did last year, these were now in fourth year, going out to collect the data. These issues of the methodology were a big challenge. They'll just say, I'll do descriptive study. But you need to say all these things in the descriptive study. So, if you say descriptive study, what you mean? I'm going to use quantitative. What do you mean? You need to describe this in detail. Okay? And there's a way which I like to use to help you deal with all these issues of discussing in terms of the methodology. If you present your objectives or your hypothesis in what we call a research design table, that is going to force you to deal with all the things we talked about in terms of data collection, in terms of the population, the sample, in terms of the analysis procedures. It will help you to decide how to collect the right type of data, to decide what is the sort of population and the sample you are going to use, what data collection techniques are you going to use, how are you going to analyze your data. And this is just a template of that table. Before you start writing your methodology, if you just list your objectives, where I'll say the research objectives, they go to the hypothesis, you list them there, then you will be able to ask yourself questions. If I'm going to achieve this objective, if I'm going to achieve this hypothesis, what type of data? So you can start listing the type of data there which you need to collect. And if I have to collect this type of data from where, how do I store it in your way? How do I, who are going to provide this data to me? Where do I get this data? So, source of data would be the next question. What data collection procedures do I need to do in order to get this type of data? And then how am I going to analyze that data? If you write that, then you can go back to start writing the methodology Because just be pulling the ideas from this table to fit in the methodology chapter. Questions? Yes, sir. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah. Are you happy? You were not happy that time. Now, are you happy? I'm pretty happy. No, not upset. What is happy? What is the problem? You ask the question as we proceed. You will have forgotten the place. When you are writing the proposal, up to that stage of the slide, you will have finished writing your proposal except for one thing, the references section. So what I'm describing here are just tips as we're writing the proposal. As we say that research is a systematic process, make sure that each and every stage relates logically to the next stage. So you write the introduction chapter. In that chapter, you cover a background. You are also supposed to cover the research problem. You should be able to ask yourself, are the ideas coming from the introduction? Relating to those in the background, relating to those in the problem statement. When you have written the problem statement, that should directly relate to the objectives or hypothesis. Those things should be able to talk to one another. If they cannot talk to one another, then you know there is a problem. When you tackle the literature review section, remember the literature review section is to help strengthen this introduction chapter. As we say, it provides a basis for your problem. It identifies the gap that you are dealing with, and you cannot talk about that gap without going into the literature. The gap must be existing in the literature to justify your research. So, automatically, the literature review section should be talking to the introduction section. The background, you are describing the scene, scenario in which you are dealing with your research. What are the sort of factors that have motivated you to conduct this research? What are the sort of development challenges you want to address, the practical challenges you want to address by answering those challenges, that indicating what are the causes of those challenges and indicating how to deal with those challenges. So all that means the literature review should be talking to the introduction. If you come up with an objective or a hypothesis, those must be based on what others have said. And you are saying, is what others say relating to what I am proposing? So the objective is talking to the literature, or the literature should be talking to the objectives. So this logic must be there. And we said that the literature review should also be giving you indications on how we are going to do the methodology. So all these things are talked about in the methodology. When you are talking about research design, what have you learned from the literature to guide you into coming up with the right research design for your study? When you talk about the population sampling procedures, what have you learned from others who did similar studies, which have guided you to what you want to do in the study? We are talking about the tools, data collection procedures, data analysis procedures. What have you learned from others? Because the research is a systematic process, and you are building on what others have done. You are adding knowledge to what is already existing. In terms of presentation, you need also to be very systematic. For example, in chapter 1, the title of the chapter should be presented in a certain way, such that somebody who is reading should be able to know that this is the chapter title, this is a subtitle representing the section. For example, if you are talking about the introduction chapter, what title are you going to give that chapter? And within that chapter, you need to provide a brief introduction about the whole study you are going to conduct. So you have another way there which says introduction. But the whole chapter is about introduction. People should be able to differentiate those. When it comes to the background, how are you going to present it? How are you going to format it? Even when you are using figures, tables, plates in various chapters, those must be numbered systematically, presented systematically. For example, each table you have must have a title, and the title should come on top. Let's say it's a table, you see the research design table which you are presenting. Now, the research design table, as we talked about, is coming in chapter what? Chapter 3, right? Methodology. The best way to present that one, if it is the first table in that chapter, 3.1. Research design table. So when you are referring to it yourself, please refer to table 3.1, research design table. And the reason why we recommend that is we know that in research, as we are doing the presentation of data, there will be many tables in that table. So it's usually confusing if you just say table 1, 2, 3, 4. If you go to chapter 4, which is class and discussion, then you start with the 4.1. Start your table 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. So people can systematically. So these are just the tips on how to write your proposal systematically. The beauty is when you have done the proposal properly, when you go out to collect the data, to analyze and present the results and discussion chapter, as well as the conclusion and the competition chapter, you will already have done your first 3 chapters. Introduction is there, literature review is there, methodology is there. The only thing you'll be doing is to dig up those chapters with anything which comes in the process of your research. Now the only challenge will be writing chapter 4 and chapter 5. also don't forget that in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, you were proposing it. That I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So you were writing in future tense. When you come back with your data, you are not proposing. You are telling us what you have done. So there's a change in the tense. The only other thing you have to do in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 is change the tense from future to past. Those are principles for English. But then if the proposal in fact will go into most of the reports. Sorry, this person is never going to an English class. Questions? When I was talking about the literature review, we also talked about presenting your references. So at the end of chapter 3, the proposal, we expect a list of all the references you have used in your paper. If you have quoted my paper and you don't include me in the references, you are committing a crime, because that is now plagiarism. You are claiming that what you have written is your knowledge, yet it is knowledge. So each and every paper you have referred to must be listed in the references to acknowledge that this knowledge is not mine. I'm using somebody's knowledge. But the other very important part is that when you have quoted something, people who read might also say, this is a very interesting quotation. Can I go and learn more about what this person did? They should be able to get that information from the references, to know where that paper can be found, how that paper can be pulled out and be used for his or her own studies. You remember we were saying that one way of searching literature is you start from lesson studies. If you go to the references section, those will be going into other interesting studies we've done earlier. And that's the reason why you must also do the same. Because you will be the one who has done the most recent study at this particular point. You have published your way. So people want to use yours to learn what others did before. So the references section must be done properly. I've not included it here because I put a bit in the literature review section. Questions? Alfonso. Set of slides on this unit are referring to the next stage after the proposal. After you have done your data collection, after you have analyzed your data, now how do you present that data? And are two schools of thought. Other disciplines, especially in the physical sciences, would actually separate this chapter. They will have chapter 4, results, and chapter 5, discussions. There are some disciplines which we like to present these two separately. And since you are a mixed group, you may be coming from a discipline which does that. So, although I would say with that discussion, you may wish to follow your own disciplinary practice. But when you are approaching the results, whether it is results and discussion, remember, the results should not just be communicated that they are, they must be discussed. So for each set of your data, whether it is a table, whether it is a figure, whether it is a graph, it must be discussed. So the chapter should start with a brief introduction. In fact, that first bullet is a bullet which must be in each of the chapters of your paper. Chapter 1 must be able to be introduce the chapter. What are you going to cover in this chapter? Chapter 2, what are you going to talk about in this chapter? Chapter 3, what are you going to talk about in this chapter? That's an introduction to the chapter. It gives the reader an expectation of what he or she will find in the chapter. Then you should provide a description, a brief description of how we conducted the study, especially in terms of the sample. What were the major characteristics of that sample? You may, for example, be interested in conducting a study where you want to investigate the relationship between level of education and level of income. You have a hypothesis where you are arguing to say that the more educated the person is, the more income he or she will be making in life. Let's say that's the hypothesis we are dealing with. And you have got how to collect data, and you want to present that data in order to see whether your hypothesis is being supported or not. But before you start dealing with that, you will need to describe the sample which you used to collect the data in order to assess your hypothesis, or in order to test your hypothesis. So tell us, where is the sample coming from? What are the characteristics of this sample? One of the variables is the education. So if you can describe the educational characteristics of this sample, it is very important. A simple table, for example, which shows how many in this sample have the primary school certificate, how many are the junior certificate, in our school certificate of education, BSc, how many have master's degrees, how many have PhDs. That's a simple table. At least somebody who is going to be reading your findings later on can be able to relate those findings with the sample view. And similarly, a simple table which shows the income level. What was the highest level of income? What was the lowest income? What was the average income level? You can describe the mode that is the majority of the people, how much income are they getting? So that when you pour it out to start saying, from the data I presented, I conducted a correlation analysis, and education is correlating to income in this way. People will be able to relate that with what you have presented by describing the sample. I don't know whether that makes sense. So the first point of your result section is to describe your sample. You send me data which will be describing your sample. After that, of course, when you have presented the data for describing the sample, you are not just presenting a paper and read it like that. No. You talk about it. This is sample as compared to other samples that the other people who have done studied similar like this one. This is presenting people who are more educated than the other studies, presenting people who are less educated than the other studies, presenting people who are getting more income than other studies. So, this slide, it's not just presenting the same slide. Correct? Then after that, you can now start tackling your objectives which appear in your first chapter or your hypothesis. You'll be presenting discussions of results and discussions about each objective, each hypothesis. And we are saying this is systematic. So, in chapter 1, you have the main objective, and then you have the specific objectives. You listed them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 specific objectives. When you come to this stage, then you go for each specific objective. Start, you have the objective number 1. So, in this chapter, people will want you to start talking about objective number 1. What did you find? Is your finding indeed showing that the level of education is associated with the level of income? So data which will be showing that kind of association must be presented, and you must discuss that data. The question of discussion is usually a problem for people. How do I discuss this? But it's not supposed to be a problem at all. You propose the sort of association, the sort of relationship in your hypothesis. I'm hypothesizing that the more educated, the more income. In this chapter, people will be expecting to say, is the data saying those who are more educated are getting more income? Those who are less educated are getting less income? Is that what the data says? Is it saying? Yes. Or it is saying contrary to that.
So that stage is supposed to take really stage the full which you mentioned that.
Yes. People expect you to say that. So when you are presenting the data, you describe how it is made. But in terms of discussion, you should be able to tell us, is the data supporting your hypothesis? or not? Is the data supporting your research question or not? That's what you are supposed to be doing. That's the discussion people will be looking at. In addition to that, it is relating to what other people found. You remember we said that the other reason for literature review is to help you discuss your own results. For you to come up with a hypothesis, which is saying the more education, the more income, you are using data from theories from other people who have done that, or research results from other people who have done that. Now, if your results are supporting the hypothesis, you say my results are in agreement to what other people have done. This person found this, this person found this, this person found this, and these findings are in tandem to what I have found. But if they have found different, you should also be able to say, my results don't agree with my colleagues found. And when that happens, then you have also a question to deal with in the discussion. Why do you think your results are different from what others found? That's the issue of discussion. See?
So maybe along the process of writing your study, conducting your study, you have discovered that what you are finding is contrary to what others did. So you're presenting maybe to school. How do you go about that?
This is what we should do. My findings are different